get your libation, get whatever you need, family. Get in the room. We are here. We're calling everybody in. We are here, family. Please, let's do the housekeeping before we get down to the nitty and the gritty. Please hit that like button. Please hit that bell if you have not hit it to get notifications. Also, be mindful that if you want to know, hey, I want this event on, I didn't get notifications. I always send those through Twitter. I always send them to the Facebook pages, my personal page, and the other page, and the Breaking Brown Facebook page as well. Twitter, all of that stuff. So if you don't see it there, just check where you are on social media. Today I sent it to Instagram as well, so just check where you are. Family, please, if you want to, what I really need you to do is hit that like button. If you are in here right now, hit that for me. If you want to donate, patreon.com/ycarnell, $breakingbrown, or donatebrown.com. Any of those things, but hitting that like costs you nothing, costs you none of the monies, and it's helpful to the channel. So please do that. Now, what I want to do also, fam, is remind everybody that on December the 10th, fastly approaching, long book. If you have not picked it up, you're going to need to get deep into it real quick. But it's a good read in terms of it's not too wordy. It's not too academic. It's not some things that really keep you away from a book. So it shouldn't be, once you get into it, you can really get into it. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to still need time. 400 plus pages, you still need time. So December the 10th, that will be the day that we do that. December the 10th, that will be our book club day. This book is long enough that I can probably say ahead of time we are going to go into the next day. There's going to be a lot to unpack. I want to have the conversation. So please keep in mind, December the 10th. Say it with me, everybody. December the 10th. What's going on, Mobs? What's going on, Lisa, Lionel, Critical Side? Hey, how are y'all doing? Skin Future, Dog. How's everybody? I hope everybody's doing wonderful. I hope nobody's coughing too much with COVID. But we're going to have to talk a little bit today about put things in the way that LLC Twitter can kind of realize. We have to put things in the way that they can kind of understand. So today what we're going to try to do is talk a little bit about return on investment. Right? Because that's what they always say. Well, you just got to figure out how to invest on stuff. Well, we're going to have a conversation about return on political investment. Because ADOS, we had a down ballot strategy, but other people did not. And they think that they have gotten a return on their investment, partly because they don't know who they are. So if you are confused, you might not know that you haven't gotten a return on your investment. You might be a little bit thrown off and not know who you are, where you come from, where your agenda is, what you're supposed to be looking for, what your people got, what your people didn't get. So if you're confused and then you see images like this that make you even more confused, you really don't understand that not only have you not gotten a return on your investment, you don't understand that it's not just not a return from way back there. It's the fact that the people who you just elected, not us, we was down ballot, we didn't have nothing for the top of the ticket. You don't understand that you didn't win. See, because people have confused you about who you are. We talk about Ruby Bridges. That's that little, when we talk about that little girl, segregation. Her mama just passed. We're going to talk about that. And what she walked through, what she went through in this America, what it means to come from slaves and sharecroppers. That was that experience. It was not Kamala's experience. And the artist who did this, and I think there was a black artist involved as well. I don't care. It was a mistake, and it's part of the confusion, and we have to talk about that confusion. You even see Black Lives Matter coming out saying we won. Now they won't say what we won because they don't have any kind of specificity. If you can't tell me specifically what we won, I should probably assume that we lost something in the game. We lost something because I don't know what we won. You can't tell me we won. We're going to try to work together. Well, deciding that you're going to work together is not an agenda. They put out there's a whole letter, and we're going to get into it, fam, but there's a whole letter about congratulations. Without the resounding support of black people, we would be saddled with a very different electoral outcome. We want to be hard, we want to be heard, and our agenda to be prioritized. What agenda are you talking about? That little class-based agenda y'all put up? We issue these expectations not just because black people are the most consistent and reliable vote for Democrat, but also because black people are truly living in a crisis in a nation that was built on our subjugation. What is the agenda, though? Up until this point, the United States has refused to directly reckon with the way that it devalues black people and devastates our lives. That cannot continue. Blah, 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 and blah. But what does that mean? See, let me talk to LLC Twitter for a second. You know, some of you who deal with LLC Twitter, some of y'all are kind of fraudulent in the sense that you've never really dealt with the contract. And I feel the same way about that statement that I just read. This politics is a contract. Now, if you promise us something and you don't deliver and you don't try to deliver, you have reneged on your contract. But who enters into a contract with somebody who their end of the contract doesn't require that they deliver anything? Well, you going to give me, this contract requires you to give me $10 million and I might do something at a later date. Who would enter into that sort of contract? And so early on, you see a lot of people coming out the gate. Now the election is over. You see a lot of people coming out the gate. Sean King's out the gate now. He's out the gate and he's running, ladies and gentlemen. I can't imagine that the Joe Biden transition team for the Department of Justice could be more disappointing. This is the official team. Well, Sean, I don't know how you could not have imagined that one of the architects of mass incarceration would give you a disappointing team. Oh my God. Everybody lacks foresight. Everybody trying to come out here now real surprised that, oh my God, I think we got a bad deal. We got a bum deal. And we came out. Yes, we always knew. Y'all tried to make fun of us with down ballot Democrat and down ballot, and we not on the top of the ticket. Y'all tried to, we just got to get Trump out of there. We ain't got to do nothing else. Well, this is what happens when you just get Trump out of there and you don't get nothing else in exchange for your vote. You end up writing stupid stuff on Instagram and Twitter that don't make no sense. That's what happens. And I'm going to teach you who you are. I'm going to teach you who you are in just a second, but we have to, it's a lot of them. It was a lot of them that came out and started talking crazy. I had no idea. I am shocked and appalled. I saw D. Ray was in there talking. We just got to hold Trump accountable. I mean, we got to hold, we can't have Trump in there. We can't have y'all, we got to hold Trump accountable, Trump supporters accountable by y'all can't meet with them. Y'all can't talk. We got to tell Biden and them. Here you go. We got to tell Biden and them they can't talk to Trump and them. That's what we got to do. After the election, you're going to talk about what we got to do. There is no world where we should be inviting the Trump folks to work alongside us as we move forward. They are not acting in good faith. They have never acted in good faith. Why would we invite harm into the house and then wonder why we're getting hurt? Yeah, we asked that before the election. You can't be partying up and saying, yeah, Biden beat Trump. Oh, we're gonna, and then now come and say, well, we got to make sure some stuff don't happen. You make sure stuff doesn't happen before the election, not after. Now you're just trying to wiggle out of it. So if somebody says, dang, D. Ray, you got us in a mess, you can say, well, no, look at my tweet. I was saying that. Just like Ron Klain, didn't I tell y'all? I told y'all a while ago, I tweeted about it, talked about it, and said it again this last show. I said, Klain is going to be the chief of staff. He's the one you got to worry about. And then I detail his past with mass incarceration. Why am I the only one talking about that? Why was I the only one talking about that he was on that Biden's chief of staff now, and chief of staff for a long time, that's his guy for a long time, was part of Clinton administration, which I told y'all last time that was going to do the mass incarceration. And now he's on the team officially as chief of staff. And y'all don't know his background. Y'all listen to people in blue vests who don't know anything about how this is supposed to work. That's how we got here. That's why we're here. Now they're trying to wiggle their way out. Oh my gosh, I had no idea it would be this bad. Biden's always been this bad. Cozying up to segregationists, doing crime bills. He's always been this bad. You expect the old man to change up all of a sudden on behalf of Negroes? No. That's not going to happen, and that never was going to happen. You have to understand elevation. What do I mean? Well, Yvette, what is Yvette talking about when she talks about elevation? What is she talking about? Well, see, the thing is, I want to say something. I want to put a pin in it. Ruby Bridges' mama died, may she rest in peace, at 86. Kamala's mother, if she were alive, rest in peace, I think she died in 2006. She would have been 82. Those women were of the same generation. Now, I want you to hold on to that, because I'm going to talk about that. I want you to hold on to their ages. Okay? That's about to be very, 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 very important. When we talk about return on investment, let me put this up real quick. Let me bring this up really quick, because age and timing is about to become very important in the conversation that we're about to have. So I have to bring it up. So you have Lucille Bridges, who came from sharecroppers. That's who we have. That was who they tried to put in that picture. It was her daughter that they tried to put in that picture as Kamala. These are not the same. And that's why we don't get a return on investment, because people keep looking at these people as the same. Let's just stay on it. She just passed away. Rest in peace. But understand, if you don't understand who she was, you really don't understand what has to happen. And you really don't understand what's happening in America. So let's just talk about it. Lucille was born to Mississippi sharecroppers at a time when black children rarely went beyond 3rd grade. According to WGNO, her family later moved to New Orleans. She gave birth to Ruby in 1954, the same year as the landmark Supreme Court case Brown versus Board of Education, which struck down the decades-old separate but equal doctrine, ending segregation in the schools. Now, that is Lucille. This is the birth date. So like you see, they're around the same age. That is important with the conversation that we are going to have. You have to just hold on to it. That is about to be important. Because what you understand, or what you begin to understand, is that these two women, Kamala's mother and Lucille Bridges, could not be further apart in terms of not only who they are, but their contribution to America and what they got. See, listen, let me just say something. Let me just bring this off the screen for a second. Being ADOS means we should have an elevation. Now, capitalism requires somebody to be on the bottom. I didn't invent capitalism. It's a global structure, not just an American structure. And that means you got to put somebody else on the bottom. That ain't me. I didn't design it. But what I'm saying is that requires an elevation because of the investment that we have made in this country. We have fought in every war. It's Veterans Day. What does that mean? It means that the men, and then later in this era, women, but then men did not get, you're supposed to get a return on investment. I fight in the war, I bleed, I die, I come back to segregation, and then you don't give me what I'm supposed to get. The spoils of America, I don't get it, but I can tell you who does get it. And this is not anything, let me just say something. This is not saying anything against Indian Americans. Like if I was there, I don't know what I would do, because y'all already have an awful caste system set up that elevates certain people that I've never heard Kamala speak out against. That's a problem to me right there. But how do you get elevated above us? Well, Yvette, they don't. Well, hold on a second. Let's talk about elevation for a second. We have to talk about who gets elevated. We got to. Ain't no way around it. Have you noticed something? Have you noticed in terms of we know they didn't infuse our community with resources. We know they didn't infuse our communities with good schools, education. We never got reparations. See, it's not just about, and that is the mediocrity of kind of the reparations movement up until ADOS. Nobody talks about, it's not just about slavery. It's about that accrued disadvantage as well. It's about being locked out of other things. If you have a foul school system that doesn't teach you And then later on, you don't get a good enough score on the MCAT. If you don't have a family that's poor and send you to college, what happens is you get locked out. As citizens who built the country, you get locked out. We get locked out. And so then there's no reason to wonder, why is it, and no shade to Indian Americans, but why is it that when I watch the news now, when I watch all this news about the COVID, why is it that it's always, or more than normal, it's an Indian American? Why don't I see more ADOS talking about COVID? Because they didn't build us into that. So I see Sanjay Gupta, right? I can remember back to Obama's Surgeon General, right? Let's just talk about it. It's about what America built. I'm not talking about people in terms of these individuals. I'm talking about policies that locked us out and allowed other groups to come in and live an American life that we never had access to. So when people talk about we won, when Black Lives Matter says we won, when all these other people say we won, when Shaun King says I'm surprised, I wonder how. We're locked out of everything that includes medicine. Been here longer than everybody and locked out of it. This is just a marker. We're a lot of other markers with a lot of different groups. And it's nothing xenophobic to say that, because this is not about these people as individuals. This is about the policy that created them and locked us out. Very different conversations. You have to understand. Let me bring it up one more time. Since Kamala tried to create herself as Ruby Bridges, please understand this. Ruby Bridges is walking with soldiers. Soldiers. November 14th, 1960, when Kamala's mother and father were at UC Berkeley. 4 years later, in 1964, as grad students, they walked through a door a small girl trashed through. Like a small girl pushed through the door and they went through. You have to understand this story, and you have to understand, I don't care what group you're in. If you are a brown or black person, we pushed through the door that you came through in. And now you get all the opportunities, and we're left here with nothing. That little girl pushed through the door, and her mama walked with her at one point. That's who pushed through the door. But when we got inside the door, they wouldn't let us have what was in there. American opportunity. That's why when you read what she said, when you read what Lucille said, she said, "I wanted my child." They suffered. Ruby's father lost a job. People wouldn't let him shop at grocery stores. We suffered so everybody else could eat. That's not right. And I'm gonna show you how everybody else is eating and nobody's showing up for us. So I don't know how BLM says we won. Won what? Look, when I turn on TV, I don't see myself. Do you see yourself? Do you see yourself? And let me just tell you this. It don't matter. It don't matter. I don't care about the kids. I don't care about, when we talk about, well, what does Ruby say? That don't matter. It matters what she did. It doesn't matter her opinion. She could bless Kamala right now. It wouldn't matter to me. Because I know what this is, and I trust my judgment. I know I'm right. I know we're right. So let's just go on to what we see when we turn on the TV. Or when we go anywhere, who is dominating the medical field. It's not like we don't want to be doctors. We do. We absolutely do. But these people have a whole country backing them, with the whole caste system that kind of sends the light-skinned ones and the ones from a certain privilege, and they get opportunities. America loves that caste system because America has a caste system of its own, where we're at the bottom. So all of these people are standing on the Bridges family that lost their wealth. Well, not even wealth, just income in terms of jobs, able to shop, all of that. And you come in and you say nothing and you do nothing. But not even that, you have opportunities that we should have. That was the whole point of us deciding we should go to school. That was the whole point of the sacrifice that we made. But I just don't see us in these spaces. I don't see us being able to have these conversations. We're disproportionately impacted by COVID, but we don't even have ADOS doctors. Because America decided to lock us out and lock you in. And you have a country backing you, where our country has weaponized against us. So when I go back to what I said earlier with BLM saying we won, we did not. Sean King being surprised. Why? What's wrong with you? LLC Twitter, understand there was no return on this investment. Being American, I said this, citizenship is supposed to mean something. What we are is in this space where it means nothing. We will just import people. We will not build up ADOS. We will import the people that we need. That's not good enough. So you have a space where Mike Bloomberg is saying, we're going to try to build more black doctors. Good for him, but that means that America failed us. So a lot of the people that you see here as Indian American doctors, as Indian American physicians, as Indian American tech, they're Brahmin, top caste. That's the white people of India. That's Kamala. That's her mother. So while Ruby Bridges and her mama were sacrificing everything, Kamala's parents were getting high-end educations. Kamala's mother was a scientist. Understand that she was a scientist or becoming a scientist at the same time that Lucille Bridges was sacrificing everything for not only her people, but all the people who were shoehorned into that legacy at a later time. There's no opportunity for us. We have not won anything. We did not win. When a segregationist and a person who was the architect, one of the architects, because there were many, of mass incarceration becomes president, you are a fool if you dance in the streets and say, we won. Trump has damaged the countries in ways I cannot even talk about, but they have not been ways that can compare to the 1994 crime bill. You don't have to be a fan of Trump. We're not a fan of any of these people. That's why we did Democratic down ballot. We're not a fan of none of them. But you cannot be this way and you cannot think this way. This is silly. So let me just have a quick quote out of here. While African Americans make up 13% of the United States population, as a black psychiatrist, Tweety is among just 5% of participating physicians who are black or African American, according to the Association of American Medical Colleges. Now understand, when you see that African American, that includes everybody. Understand, when you see that includes black immigrants, that includes a lot of people. I would say that we are less than 2%. If I had to just guess, because they have a disaggregated information. But if I had to guess, we're less than 2%. By what right? I was looking for a doctor myself, and I was trying to find an ADOS doctor. Everybody that I found who was black, for the most part, had names that I know were not ADOS names. No, I'm not trying to say nothing against y'all. But why can't I find a Dr. Cindy Jenkins? I'm in Atlanta. Why is it that hard to find? Because we didn't create them. We didn't build them. We imported them. And I can't tell nobody what to do with the country that they come from and what they have to do and what opportunity they want. I can't. That's not my thing. My thing is what opportunity I get for my people. AAMC report shows decline in black males in medicine. So it's blacks in general, but black men disappeared from the medical field. You know the best way to get a black man to go to the doctor? Have him go to a black male doctor, especially ADOS. That's the way we got my daddy to go to a doctor. Found a male ADOS doctor with a good sense of humor. They all in there sniggling and snickering. Because you trust them. We've been locked out. Let me see this. Let me show you this. Despite efforts by medical schools to increase diversity, fam, among applicants, the numbers for one demographic, black men, have remained stagnant for nearly 40 years. In 1978, 1,410 black men applied to U.S. medical schools. In 2014, that number was 1,337, according to the new AAMC document altering the course, Black Males in Medicine. Let me go to this next slide really quick. Along with applicants, findings also show that black male matriculants have made little headway in the past 4 decades. In 1978, there were 542 black male matriculants to MD granting institutions. In 2014, that number was 515. In addition, despite an overall increase in the number of black male college graduates, the number of male to female medical school applicants is lowest among African Americans. Locked out. Locked out. That's what being locked out looks like. And don't nobody care. So we ain't won nothing. Biden got in there. Oh my God. We just had to get Trump out. We at the same place we were 4 decades ago in terms of black male doctors. Not that far ahead in terms of black female doctors. And they don't disaggregate. So we don't know how many of them aren't even ADOS. We have a right to the spoils of the country that we built. Got a right to that. And we're not getting that. I don't know how anybody thought that was a win. Except for grifters and hustlers and charlatans. Was not a win. Nowhere near a win. My gosh. These people are off. Now you know who is becoming a lot of doctors? What we talked about at the beginning? Several Indian American doctors in the front line battle for COVID. And it's not because of them. See, we got to start about part of the way xenophobia happens. You make it about people as opposed to policy. No, policy allowed this to happen. So policy, from slavery to Jim Crow to redlining, that's the stuff that puts us in a place where we can't really even become doctors. H-1Bs and stuff puts them in a place where they can come here and be doctors. You got to stop, and we got to stop talking about people and start talking about policy. The policy needs to favor us and create us and move us to certain spaces where we can have institutions and institutional power. This is not about people. This is about policy. And the people who went just out there voting for Biden and just because we got to get him out of there, y'all are failures. I'll say it to your face. Now, 4 years from now, you got to come on board. You were stupid last time. We all been stupid. I voted for Obama the first time. I was stupid too. We all been stupid. But you can't live in stupid. You got to come out of that. So let me go to the next one. Just to give you a good context of what is here, because you always got to know, hey, LLC Twitter, you know about competition, right? Some stuff you're going to have a hard time competing against. And we shouldn't have to compete against, given what we've been through and given how we put these people into place anyway to be here as quote unquote brown people. Indian Americans, this was in the conversation if you're looking to Google it and bring it up. Indian Americans can be an influential voting bloc despite their small numbers. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. In her memoir, Harris is talking about Kamala Harris, writes about her Indian origins. I am a political scientist of Indian origin who has followed the rising trajectory of Indian Americans in American politics. Though Indian Americans constitute a mere 1.5% of the population, their impact Needed a comma right there. Their impact on American politics can be disproportionate. Indian Americans are among the wealthiest and most educated of all immigrant groups in the U.S. We are among the poorest and least educated. You want to compete against that? I'm just asking. At 4 million, Indian Americans are one of the fastest growing immigrant groups in the United States and the second largest immigrant group after Mexicans. Understand that Mexico is at our border. Understand that. You are coming close to the people who are right next to us. Understand that. The community, however, started with modest numbers owing to severe restrictions on immigration prior to the passage of the landmark Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which was on the backs of what? What family? What? Come on, talk to me. The legislation that ended immigration on the basis of national origins and prioritized highly skilled workers led to a dramatic increase of immigration from Asia. A disproportionate segment of those who formed the first wave of migrants were middle-class professionals, doctors, educators, and managers. That is Kamala's mama. So while we were here dealing with sharecropping and sharecroppers and everything that was happening to us, they were coming from good families, a little bit of money or a lot of money, a caste system, all of that stuff. This is unfair. So the woman who led Kamala Harris to this moment, they're talking about her mother. Let's just read about it. Gopalan spent much of her life fitting in where she wasn't supposed to. When she left India in 1958 to pursue a graduate degree at UC Berkeley. UC Berkeley. Wow. What did I tell you about? What did I tell you? What did I tell you about Lucille Bridges? Sharecroppers. Kamala's mother was Berkeley. That's why these two women are not the same. When she left India in 1958 to pursue a graduate degree at UC Berkeley, she was one of a few Indian women enrolled at the university. In fact, the 19-year-old was one of a few Indian women in the entire 5 years. She bucked Indian tradition, she bucked Indian tradition of an arranged marriage and fell for a budding economist named Donald Harris. They named their first daughter after the Sanskrit word lotus, which means Kamala. Now here she is. Now we talked about who Ruby Bridges was and sharecroppers, poverty, what they lost. Let's talk about Kamala's mother for just a second. The daughter of a high-ranking bureaucrat under the British Raj. So wait a minute, isn't that kind of like you were a bureaucrat under the British? That says a lot. Gopalan had a comfortable childhood. I tell you who didn't. Ruby Bridges didn't. Her mama didn't. Sharecropping ain't comfortable. These people are not. It's not us. We have to understand specificity. She was born in the southern city of Madras, now Chennai, but her father's work took the family to Bombay, Calcutta, to New Delhi, where Gopalan spent most of her formative years. When she was 9 years old, India broke free from British rule. A year later, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. After India gained independence, her father, P.V. Gopalan, led the resettlement of refugees fleeing Bangladesh to India. And, her mother, Kamala's mother, was a scientist. Right? Let's just understand how this is not the same. Let me bring this up. A world-renowned scientist. We've never been allowed, and our intellectual property has been stolen. So that's a whole nother thing. After receiving her PhD, Gopalan stayed at UC Berkeley and became a breast cancer researcher. Her success in this field took her to universities around the world where she continued conducting research and teaching. She worked at the University of Illinois and the University of Wisconsin, spent time in France and Italy, and then received tenure at McGill University in Montreal. Gopalan brought her two daughters to her with her to Canada. That's not our life, family. And I don't know anywhere else to say it as to say that we built the country and we didn't get any return on investment. Our investment was basically handed over to other groups of people. That's just what happened. Now, it pays right now to look at some data, right? So the first thing we can look at is like population. We're talking about Indian Americans. To look at population real quick. It pays to look at this sort of thing because we're going to have to talk about it. Now, this was 5 years ago. It's more than this. I think it might have been more. But the median annual income, we're talking about Indian Americans. So how do you get to come here after the Immigration Act of 1965 and you have more wealth than the people who built the country? And then people will say with that little image that you Ruby Bridges, you are her dream. You are not her dream. You're your mama's dream. You're your daddy's dream, Kamala. I don't even think you're your daddy's dream because he don't talk about you. I don't think he like you, and nobody made you talk about that. Indian Americans income highest in the U.S. Listen, if your income is the highest in the U.S., you are not a reflection of ADOS. Leave me alone. Keep my name out your mouth. As long as you live, you are a reflection of an Indian American and a Jamaican, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't even the way you talk about your blackness is through your Jamaican father. He don't even talk about you. He sound like he embarrassed about you because he said you embarrassed him when you was talking to Charlemagne. So I don't even think the person who made you black, your Jamaican father don't even want to have nothing to do with you, don't seem like. And nobody made her answer for that. But this wealthy group of people cannot stand for ADOS. As a matter of fact, America should have built us into those doctors instead of importing those doctors. America has brought in a bunch of groups so that they don't have to deal with us. You brought in a bunch of groups so you don't have to deal with slavery, so that you don't have to deal with Jim Crow. You don't have to deal with redlining. You don't have to deal with mass incarceration. You just bring in brown people. It's a problem. It's a real big problem. It's a policy problem. It is a policy problem. Now I want you to look at this. Hold on one second. I'm going to make it. Hold on one second. You got to look at this. Because we're a nearly wealthless group because we didn't get reparations. If you want to know why we have to have reparations to compete and move and how we have to have elevation, you have to understand something. Well, first of all, I think you have to understand what elevation means. You have to understand that. But let's look at this chart. Half of U.S. Asians have at least a bachelor's degree. Only about 17% of ADOS. And I don't even know if that's all ADOS. But they said like 20, I think it's like 20% of black people, it's probably less than that of ADOS, have a bachelor's degree. And then we can't usually plug it into anything because of systemic racism. So, but you know how the model minority thing goes too. So you see all these different groups. They still have more degrees than us, even the Vietnamese and the Cambodians. You can go all the way down to the bottom, the Philippines, all that. They still have way more degrees than us. But look who's at the top. That's the Indian. 72%. 12% of us, like, what was it, like 17? I think it's probably. So less than 20% of us have a bachelor's degree. You want to compete with somebody who has that at a 72%. How do you even come here and have that and we ain't had to have nothing? So I can't even get Janessa Washington or Leroy Jenkins on TV to talk to me about COVID. It's always got to be Gupta, and not because of anything we did. And I'm not mad at you as a person. I'm talking about the policy that locked us out and allowed this to happen and allowed us to start thinking. Allow us to start thinking stupid stuff. Allow us to start thinking a bunch of stuff that don't make no sense. All those numbers, all that history I just told you. How in the world do y'all look at that and think this is us? What are we doing? What kind of thing is everybody is ADOS smoking? Why are we asleep? Listen, if we wake up, we change America. Stay asleep if you want to. Your child will starve. Their children will starve. You'll be beggars on the street if it continues this way. We built this country. No shade. It's just what it is. And this woman is no representation of what we came from. Ain't no sharecropper in her background. Tell her to shut up with that. You are here to you create an Indian legacy. You do that. You build that. But keep my name out your mouth. Listen to this. The differences in educational attainment among origin groups is in part reflect the levels of education immigrants bring to the U.S. For example, 72% of Indians had a bachelor's degree or higher in 2015. Many of them already had a bachelor's degree when they arrived in the U.S. with a visa for high-skilled workers, such as H-1B visa. Half of H-1Bs, which require a bachelor's degree or equivalent, have gone to Indians since 2001. Let me tell you what should happen. What should happen is that America decides reparations isn't the ball game. That's a part of the ball game. I keep trying to tell people that. America needs to decide to pour resources into schools with high ADOS communities, right? And so we become, right, the best of the best. So we've already gotten our reparations, and you're going to fix the schools. We're not going to fix the schools without reparations. You fix the schools. And then there should be a prioritization of black doctors. And I'm talking about black tech and everything, but today we're talking about doctors. And a reduction in the H-1B. So that we can now then come in. Right? And so you structure it, you come down little by little, because you can't do everything overnight. So you're doing things from a very particular place. So you're starting now kindergarten on. Okay, as we get these doctors in here, as we prioritize these ADOS doctors, we're dropping it. We're dropping it a little bit. We're dropping it a little bit because we're prioritizing ADOS doctors. That's how you do it. Doesn't happen overnight. You have to fill in resource. And that's why I say, and I've said this before, but that's why I say it is stupid to have a limit on reparations. You can't say we got to pay reparations in 10 years or 15 years. You pay it until we whole. I don't care how long you got to pay it. You pay it until we whole. You can't be no boomer and say, I'm going to put it for 15 years because I want to get it while I'm still alive. That don't matter, and you don't matter. What matters is the group. We got to pour resources into this group, not only in terms of our individual and familial wealth level, but you got to pour that into the community. That's what has to happen. It's essential. And I don't care if it takes you 300 years. You got to pour that into this community that you've damaged for at least 400 years. What do I always say? It takes much longer to heal a wound than it takes to inflict the wound. You cut us. The 400 years that you cutting us, you can't fix that in 15 years or 10 to 15 years. And anybody who tells you that don't know what the hell they talking about. And you can't listen to them no more. 15 years. So you just listen. If I was a white supremacist, I would throw a bunch of money at us for 15 years and run off. Because you know what that would mean for us? Failure. Stop being short-sighted in everything you do. This stuff don't make no sense. You have to do it. Listen. There are people in the Jewish community who are descendants of Holocaust survivors, who are considered to be standing in the shoes, because what they understand is that the cost of surviving the Holocaust and coming from those people who did extends well beyond the people who experienced it. Can't put a time limit on that. You can't be that short-sighted. There's a lot that has to be done. And the only reason I don't get into it all is because some people, when I tell people my whole plan, they try to steal it and write stuff on it. So I don't say everything, but I've said enough. There's not enough work that's been done in this arena. And that is a problem. It is absolutely a problem. It is a failure. The lack of work that has been done in the reparations arena. But we're going to fix it. It's all right. Don't feel no kind of way. Don't feel no kind of way. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix the failure. But everybody got to understand, even before inauguration or whatever happens, this is a failure. This idea that just being, oh, he ain't Trump is a failure. You look stupid to me saying that to me right now. Like I said, happy Veterans Day and all that kind of stuff. But what you see as we come out and end the show, what I want you to understand, all these other groups didn't fight in all these wars, right? So if you came here, most Indian Americans, I think, came after the Immigration Act of 1965. You didn't, there is no blood equity with you. That doesn't make you less than. I understand you were taking advantage of American policy. I'm saying American policy should change. No shade against you, but this is not good for me because the people I see on my screen right now are the people who saved America from a lot of stuff. You know what it is. Where is the investment for the descendants of these people, of these men who fought and bled? Where is it? These are members of the 369th Infantry Regiment, also known as the Harlem Hellfighters, who were awarded the coveted Croix de Guerre from the French government before heading home after World War I. And you know what happened after they headed home? They got disrespected, beat up, bloodied. (1919). Go look up Red Summer if you don't know. What is this? Oh, the white children. White children cheer outside an African-American residence that they set on fire in 1919. Where is the payment for that? Where is the return on investment? LLC Twitter, get your calculator. Where's the return on investment for this? Do we have return on investment for Biden? No, you don't. What happened to your calculator? Riots on the steps of the Capitol. This thuggish America that has locked us out of everything. A thug bunch, rogues. A bunch of rogues and thugs. Who are these thugs? These thugs. A mob carrying bricks and stone chased a black man through the streets and alleyways of Chicago in 1919. Thugs. But see, you don't experience that. You didn't experience that. If you were Kamala or her mama, or if you just got here. You didn't pay the price. We paid the price for you to be here. We paid the cost but didn't eat the fruit. And what we need out of any administration is reparations and a bunch of policy that goes with it. That allows us to eat the fruit and have elevation. That is it. Ain't no Black Lives Matter letter. Stop being stupid. We have to have an exact exchange. And anybody who tells you that that's not necessary or that can't happen is a liar. And the truth ain't in them. And the truth ain't in you. Ain't no kind of nothing else in you. Don't tell me about your religion or your or what you feel or what you think of your morality. If the truth of what is old ADOS is not in you, then the truth is not in you. And there is no religion or justice in you. That is just what it is. And you can call it what it is. And I don't care who say it or who say different. They wrong. So you can't pay DeRay no attention. You can't pay Sean King no attention, talking all that trash. And now we here. Even Roland Martin said some stuff that proved that we're right. Oh, well, Latinos is different everywhere. Yeah, I said it doesn't exist as a group, Roland. Are you slow? I told you that. There are different groups of people who should be categorized by the country they come from. They are not a group. We are still the biggest group. ADOS, still the biggest group. It's not Latinos. You can be Guatemalan American, Venezuelan American. You can be whatever, Cuban American, whatever you want to be. That doesn't make you, there's no Latino group. You slow rolling. Y'all all got to catch up. And I can't help y'all catch up. You can watch the shows and catch up as quick as you can. That's the best I can do. But this stuff that y'all's going to do and talking about we won, but we just got to hope and we just got to have a conversation and we built, that's not going to work. They got to feel the heat. Politicians got to feel the heat. They don't respond to praise or applause. They respond to pressure. Stop being a baby about this thing. Stop letting them scare you. I don't care whether it's Trump or Romney. Stop it. Stop looking into the white gaze and figuring out what the white gaze wants and using the white gaze to determine what you want. That's not how we move. Y'all got to figure it out. And I'm not talking about my fam. I know the ADOS fam gets it, but everybody else got to figure it out. And I don't even need the whole group. I need a strong and active collective. That's what I need. I don't need everybody. Some of y'all ain't going to be here, and that's fine. But I need to build. We got to build on this. We got to build on who we are. If we're not, everything that our ancestors built and tried to do and fought for will be stripped from us. And we ain't got a whole lot of time. So just understand that. I'm going to go to break, fam. We can talk about it. Whew, got to heat it up. but we can talk about it when I go to break. And I want to know your thoughts on it. All these people hopping around all of a sudden acting like they just figured out who Biden was. They didn't understand who Kamala was. I think you just have to understand. I want to hear what you all got to say about all of that. And that picture you saw that tried to make Kamala into Ruby. I want to know what you thought about that when you first saw it. So give me a few minutes to set up the calls as usual. I'll be back and we will have a conversation. All right, family, we are absolutely back. We are back. We are back. We are back. And I am going straight to the calls. I want to see what y'all got to say, what y'all thinking, what's on your mind. I want to know all that good stuff. So let me go straight to the calls. I'm going to 720. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey.
I'm Stephanie, and I'm calling from Denver, Colorado, ADOS.
What's going on, Denver?
My ancestors. Oh, let me tell you. Well, my ancestor came from Mali,
Okay.
went to Brazil, had a
Okay.
bunch of kids, and my ship landed in Virginia.
Okay. You know a lot about you know a lot about it.
Yeah, actually, I've been doing it for about 20 years, trying to find the trail.
Okay.
But there's a couple of things that I want to say regarding this Biden and Harris. First of all, I don't understand how Harris got into the mix of things, because when her and Cory Booker was running, now one black person backed him up.
Mm.
Now all of a sudden she's up there. They didn't want any dark-skinned sisters there because Val Demi could have done the job. They wanted Kamala Harris for a reason.
Mm.
If you look at all these ads on TV, you will see the dark-skinned and went brighter.
Oh.
We don't see a lot of dark-skinned people on these TV ads.
Yeah, I think so. I think you see me.
Another thing is people don't understand that when Harris was interviewed, she specifically said she was not going to do anything for black people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you heard that, because everybody heard that.
We did.
So this is what I think. This is what I think is going to happen. I think Biden's going to get in office. Well, he's in office. He's going to do 2 years, and then he don't know nothing. Kamala's going to run his last 2 years, and then she's going to run for president. And you know what? I really feel bad for the black folks that voted for Biden. And I know there's the lesser of two evils, but since and I know you have read the plan that Biden has set now for the first 100 days that he's going to be in office. Not one thing, he did not say a doggone thing about black folks.
Nope.
So all he talked about was DACA, and he talked about bringing more immigrants here, but he said absolutely nothing for black folks that voted for him. So I think we did ourselves some damage. I really do. But it's going to take some wake-up calls for all these sisters that backed him up, because I did, because I knew what was going on. But all these sisters got on the bandwagon and decided they were going to vote for him, and they're expecting something, and he's not going to produce anything.
Nope. But you know, let me ask you a question, caller. See, I kind of felt that way about Obama. I was like, he's not going to produce anything, and everybody's going to wake up, or a lot of people, or the majority, not everybody. Everybody ever going to wake up. Some people going to die asleep. You just going to roll them into the casket. So, but the question that I have is, they look for stuff. People look, confirmation bias, right? So people look for reasons to say they right. So if Kamala does just the smallest thing, which is nothing, will they still say, see, she did do stuff and she tried? That's what they said after Obama. He showed he tried.
She's not going to do, you know what, Yvette? She's not going to do anything, because I'm going to tell you something. When she started throwing these brothers in jail in California, and she was throwing them in jail for 20 years on 3 joints, and she overbooked those prisons, those inmates came down here because she was overbooking them up there. So we had to supervise those guys on GPS.
Okay.
3 joints in 20 years. Are you kidding me? I looked at the working file and almost blew a gasket. And that's how I knew who she was. But these people that voted for her are going to have a wake-up call. Because, see, when pay-up day comes, there's not going to be nothing there.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate your call. Ain't going to be nothing there. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. And let me say something. That's kind of where, as we talk about what ADOS does during the Biden administration, that's kind of where, and you all are going to see more as we roll out HQ, what we have to do is kind of find a way to get the people who are disaffected. So I don't think the disaffected black people are going to be the majority. But I think the ones who are like, man, I expected something, I didn't get it, we have to be there to swoop those people in and take them up and make them part of ADOS, because ain't nothing else out there for them. You can't be BLM. That ain't going to make no sense. You can't be just these democratic socialists, because they haven't came around to really understand race. They just understand class. And so I think I think that's an opportunity in terms of movement building. But you'll hear more about that later, fam. Anyway, let me go to the next caller. I am going now to 240. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Ms. Parnell. This is David. I actually spoke with you earlier in the year, and I guess the topic that really has me interested in giving you a call was when you were talking about the shortage of physicians in the medical profession that are ADOS as it relates to COVID and just research and everything else in general.
Okay.
And I just want to let you know that first I am ADOS. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said, that's interesting. Go ahead, fam.
Yeah, so I definitely am ADOS, and one of the things that I flash back to growing up in the South, and my mom has a picture of this, is a picture of my grandmother who actually grew up on sharecroppers' plantation. It's an old picture of her siblings, and they are basically in like these, potato sacks and just basically sitting there, and they take this old black and white picture. And she was the first in her family to move to, basically the city of my southern state. Mm-hmm. And then I look at myself and even what I had to go through, and this kind of where it all ties in just to my education alone, where, when you talk about going into medical school and into the science, it's something that has to be really groomed from the very, very beginning. And when you look at the deficiencies that our schools have, because, again, my mom grew up in a red line district. I grew up in a predominantly black community in the South, definitely had the best teachers I could have. But then when I went to college, which I did go to, what they say, one of the elite HBCUs, if you will, but I was the first one to go to that. So even when you talk about our HBCUs, like, the Howards, the Morehouse, the Spelman, even then, what you're seeing is lineage of our people, which are generations of folks that have been exposed to even some of the best of ours, where they've been trained to be part of like this professional class. And then once you get that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, I seen it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then once you get that biology and chemistry degree, then we get into now what I call the real mix of things of going on to professional school and graduate school and preparing for standardized tests. And then now we have to go into what what I've been experiencing, which is the pay your dues time. And that's why I just kind of jumped in on just quick my story where, for me to go to grad school, I had to work for 2 and 3 years, had to get a company to send me to a graduate school. Now I live in the Washington, D.C. area. Had to go to grad school to get a bachelor's degree while I was working full time in biochemistry, studying my butt off. And then on top of that, 2 to 3 years later, I ended up going to law school after that, had to get another company to pay for that. I had to do that part-time. That was an additional 4 years. You have to pay for your studies, for your LSAT. Then you have to get a certain score on that test. And then when you talk about the bar exam, then after that you get into it with your colleagues where it's like, okay, now you have to basically take leave without pay from work, which is very, very hard to do. And then for 2 months you look, it is so much that has to be paid up front when you do not have the money and the resources to do everything. Versus you look at your colleagues who, when first off, they were able to complete their education by the age of 26, while you had to be, 35 and 36 years old completing your education. You had to take out student loans to complete your education. You had to take these standardized tests 2 and 3 times. You had to take these licensing tests 2 and 3 times, all for you to be able to now be suitable for an occupation. And even then, when you get into, like you say, the legal profession and scientific profession, you even see the disparity in pay, you see the disparity in rank. Even though you're living a comfortable life compared to your others in the ADOS community, there is still so much that is sacrificed and so much that is unequitable and so much that is non-equivalent in terms of salary when compared to your white colleagues. And yeah, the show just touched a very serious nerve because it's a huge sacrifice that we all have to make. And we make it up front.
And we shouldn't, and not only do you make it up front, you shouldn't have to make it. Like as a group that built the country, you shouldn't have to make it. There should be not only the resources for school, but like like we should have the best schools. We should have college paid for. And the thing is, we should have some type of disbursement that pays for or helps us pay for the tests we got to take. There's no reason. It doesn't make sense for us to be on the same. People talk about a level playing field. No, we don't deserve a level playing field. We deserve elevation. You don't build the country and then be discriminated against for a number of years and then say we deserve a level playing field. Anybody who tells you that is crazy. We're talking like we don't. A level playing field isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for not only reparations in terms of what slaves didn't get paid, but everything that happened to us after that. That's an elevated position. I don't understand why people don't understand what you're saying. It doesn't make any sense to me. You're exactly right.
Right, and then when you talk, and I'm sorry, but then also when you look at, like I look at my dearest friends who've been on the same course as I have, and you look at the amount of student loan debt that is accumulated along the way. So yes, you can become, a physician or an attorney, but then when you start talking about $120,000 up to $300,000 worth of student loan debt, then that kind of chips away at your wealth because yes, now you're this professional, but you can't qualify to purchase a home, and then that of course impacts your ability to now develop real property-based transitional wealth to give to your children. So everything is delayed, even from the very beginning, though you were able to kind of beat the statistical odds, if you will. And then the second thing I just wanted to chime in, and I'll just kind of close on this, is you mentioned, before, well, why don't we see more ADOS, physicians? And I tell anyone to, I remember we were studying constitutional law. Look at the case of Bach v. University of California, which actually was a medical school-based case, which really went to limiting the quota system of African Americans in medical schools specifically. Because when you start talking about these standardized testing structures being placed into our educational system, one of the ways to kind of remedy the fact that scores statistically, I'm not saying we aren't as good, that's definitely not the case, but statistically aren't as high, is, hey, we made a quota system that said, you know what, we are going to train a specific amount of black people for this particular profession. And then when the Supreme Court went and said that Bach was unconstitutional, quota systems are unconstitutional in this country, then that's when you really started to see a substantial change in the number of black professionals in medical school, law school, pharmacy school at all. Everything changed at that point.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I brought that up. I brought that case up on this show. You're absolutely right. And then we got to make sure, even with quotas, you have to make sure that you're not getting just the boule class. So I think I've always said that that affirmative action should look at race and then meld a bit of class within race, within that, right? So as a way to not just get the black boule, but get ADOS in general. Because sometimes what happens is you get the black boule, the little top tier who had parents who had nothing wrong with that, but you can't get only that. You got to get people who come from nothing. You got people who come from the ghetto who got a dead in jail. Mama just got evicted. You got to find a way to do class within race. There's a very specific formula for that, but I ain't telling anyway. But I appreciate it, fam. You're exactly right.
Hey, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you continue to have a wonderful show, and I appreciate you accepting my call.
I appreciate you, fam. That was a word. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much for that. That put it. You get all this debt, and you can't get a house. So I got a degree, can't get a house. Oh, I got a degree, can't get a house, and I got to pay $1,700 a month in paying these bills back that I probably won't ever get paid back. That's what it is for us. It's awful. Anyway, I'm going to 216. 216. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's up, Yvette? This is D Thought. How are you, Yvette?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, Yvette. Calling from Cleveland, which has now been deemed the poorest city in America, according to the Census Bureau. And we know that it's half of ADOS people living in this city. And I just want to say something really quick, Yvette. I'm so appreciative of you and Tone for the work that you all have done. And I think last show we were in the chat and someone mentioned Malcolm X. And I just want to say, Yvette, you bring such intellectual fire. You're laser focused, and you
Oh,
are
thank you.
a modern day Malcolm X. I just want you to know that, sister, that your work is does not go in vain.
Thank you.
But Yvette, I just wanted to share today really quickly what Joe Biden and the Democrats have done with Kamala Harris, and a lot of us in the chat has labeled it Obama 2.0, and that's exactly what it is. It's where they're going to still play this optic politics with race, but they're also going to tie gender in, and I want to kind of like frame my comments around that.
Okay.
There's one book that talks about Indian immigration, and that book is from a scholar by the name of Sanjoy, and the book is called The Other 1% Indians in America. And he really talked about and hits on, Yvette, exactly what you talked about tonight. There were basically three waves of Indian migration. And the majority came after the pre-1965, and I'm going to connect my comments to the NAACP as well. But in the book, he says that in the first pre-65 phase of immigration, when few Indians came to America for a number of reasons, including nativism and racist policies and barriers, they were largely laborers in the early part of the 20th century through a handful of students and more educated people.
Okay.
Now, in the 60s, what you were talking about, Yvette, because of the policies and all of the fights of Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, Dr. King, Malcolm X, you begin to see the second phase known as what he calls the early movers. The early movers from the mid-1960s to the late 1970s were highly educated. These are Kamala parents that came in. 45% are later acquired professional degrees, especially medicine and graduate degrees, especially in what has become the STEM field. There were greater variance in human capital in those things. And then the third phase is what we see today. The most recent period, 1995 to 2014, saw the arrival of what we call the IT generation. So when we go to Silicon Valley, we see a lot of Indians running these multi tech firms, and we have to say that it's not about people of color. So I wanted to tie this to why we have to do the project takeover. What you said, and I took a charge. I took a call to your charge where you said we have to get into these organizations. I joined the local NAACP here in Cleveland, and I am thoroughly researching them. And they are just basically an empty shell. They're giving me a lot of the runaround. But I want to turn our attention to Clarence Mitchell, who was over the NAACP, and he was known as the Lion or the 101st senator. He was one of the most prominent NAACP presidents. He wasn't right all the time, but he was right on this.
He was right.
When the renewal for the immigration policy came up, Barbara Jordan was coming up to prominence in Texas, and then you had a group by the name of La Raza, a radical group that Barbara Jordan sold out the voting rights renewal because Clarence Mitchell did not want anyone linked to that. He wanted it to be strictly for ADOS, and Barbara Jordan, with the backing of John Lewis, rest in peace, and Andrew Young, they were able to get La Raza and get Latinos on that, which smothered the bill. Now I'm going to end here, Yvette, because I talked about the twofer. We looked at how they're going to push Kamala as a woman of color, but we also got to look at this gender lens, because we have to understand the gender lens because it's really important. Bell Hooks, who works closely with Dr. Cornel West, Bell Hooks came up with a term that we can use, Yvette, because we're going to have this language when they say, "Oh, you're being a sexist or you're being patriarchal." Black men can't be patriarchal because patriarchy is based on what Bell Hooks called white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. So you have to have the white supremacy, you have to have the capital, and it is ran by systems. And we have to look at this from social actors. So if we have these social actors carrying on this patriarchal system, we then have to look at Kamala Harris as a patriarch who defended Joe Biden, who sexually assaulted Tara Reid, Stacey Abrams. So they are patriarchs, and we have to get into naming them what they are. They are patriarchs. They're working to create that.
Are they patriarchs or are they tools of patriarchy? Are you a patriarch or are you a puppet of patriarchy? Sometimes, but go ahead.
So Yvette, this is how I say that. Yvette, they are the social actors who create the script to keep the system in place.
Ooh.
And so, but if you don't have that language system, when we are critical, me as a black man, critical of Kamala Harris, they will throw, "Oh, you're sexist. Oh, you don't want women to advance." And then there's another thing is that with our monthly book reading, we're going to have to start digging into some of these black feminists and white feminists, and even I call them suitcase feminists, the white feminists, because they go on academic campuses and they spurt all this stuff off, and then they take their feminists off, get in their car, drive to their suburbs with their white partners, and enjoy that life. That 70% that they make with the dollar that men make, that's $1.70, as Tone said. So we got to attack that. And then we got to go after Brittany Cooper. I'm sorry, Brittany, but when you categorize black men, where we are victimized survivors in here, but you say that we are the same type of patriarchs as Joe Biden, that doesn't work for me, Yvette. So, Yvette, I'm just going to get off. I just had to say that.
Fam, wait a minute, fam. Before you get off, you got to send editor Breaking Brown, and you got to tweet it or put it in the chat somewhere, a link to all the books you've been reading. But yeah, you're right. We got to do some digging into that. I agree, and I appreciate this call. Woo, we was on fire call.
Hey, thank you, Yvette, man. And Yvette, I'm 100% Cleveland, Kunta. We 100% behind you. We love you and Tony.
Appreciate it. Love you back, fam. Love you back. And love that call. Ooh wee. That's a place to come from. That's a place to go to. Oh yes, we gotta do that. Dig into the feminism, what everything they've been saying. Ooh wee. I agree wholeheartedly. You done said a word. Oh, he done got me inspired up in here. But he gotta send me them books though. So do editor breakingbrown.com, fam, and put "I called last night" in the subject line, because I got to see what you was reading. Anyway, I'm going to 323. 323, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, Yvette. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. When I get a chance to hear your voice and feel your fire and hear your intellect, I love it. Yes, it's a mom. I appreciate it so much.
Appreciate it, fam.
To shout out to you and Tone, the inspiration for giving up of yourselves to this, which is bigger than y'all can imagine. Believe that when I say that.
Okay.
I'm one of them unicorn type people, so I'm gonna be saying some stuff tonight. Okay. So I won't be able to repeat it, but I'm just gonna be saying it. So I just want to just share it tonight. That there's a big movement happening right now, and this looks like to me early South Africa and early apartheid, when they was slicing up the country and into colors, and how they sliced up the others, the whites, the colors, the blacks. Them colors was everything. Chinese, Malaysian, mixtures of Malay and European. They were just everything. It was just colors. So and it was first. It was a hierarchy. First there was the the Afrikaans, they were the first, and then the British was number 2 white.
Mm-hmm.
White 1, white 2. Then colored, with colored Malay and the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chinese come. And it's just, the system.
Uh-huh.
But at the bottom of that cast is always the darker ones.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I see that America's doing here.
Mm.
And Obama helped push that narrative. Push that in the minds of children. Push that in the minds
let me
of
push back though, because like all
black
ADOS
children,
aren't dark,
white
right?
children.
So do you think like they're gonna find a way to take like the light skinned ADOS and like loop them into it, and then keep the darker skinned ADOS at the bottom? Because ADOS, we come in all colors. So what do you think that's gonna look like? And I'll let you answer that, and I'll let you go.
What I see is that Amanda, it's done. Okay, it's done. The ancestors have spoke already. It's done. We have woken. We have woken. The soil is awake all over this planet.
I got you, fam. Well, I want to thank you. I want to absolutely thank you for your call, and I appreciate you calling. I'm gonna let you go to try to get a few more people in. But I appreciate you calling in, fam. I'm going now to I am going to 703. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sean, and I'm calling from Virginia.
Hey, Sean.
Hi there. It's been great to listen to your show. And I'm calling in because I want to express some of my concerns, especially about the emotional manipulation that the Democratic Party has played on our people. I think to see it play out has been really disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, that emotional manipulation, I feel, was used specifically on black women.
Okay.
As a mother who has 3 black young men, and one of my sons was actually recently arrested without probable cause in Washington, D.C., and it's been on Twitter everywhere. They had no reason to arrest him. They were just picking and grabbing. What I get here is that even in the first 100 days, that Biden and Kamala have said nothing about the consistent protest of all of the police brutality cases and all of the injustice surrounding anything regarding the police. They have not said anything about doing anything about that within the first 100 days. Mm-hmm. They seem to have put the LGBTQ agenda ahead of us. They've also put the immigrations ahead of us. But we have been the main people who have had the biggest concerns and have been screaming and hollering about it for the longest.
Absolutely.
My other thought about that was with the Black Lives Matter movement, quote unquote, and how $230-something million was raised for the DNC through the Black Lives Matter. And of course, not ever seeing where any of that money goes towards Black America. So that's another form of this emotional manipulation to gain something from the black vote. And then, of course, we don't see anything. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want to say in terms of that emotional manipulation situation is that in my family, there have been so many people who have gotten so upset with the facts of who Joe Biden is. And a lot of them have been more forgiving towards one or the other. I personally am not for one or the other. Mm-hmm. However, if you were to just logically look at these two candidates and look at their records, even it's just even worse that Biden had 50 years in politics, and all of his, if not all of his public legislation, have been something that has not helped our communities. But Black America still wanted to vote him in.
Well, let me say this.
And everyone was more concerned. Yes, ma'am.
Let me say this. I will go a step further than you went. I think a lot of black people, especially ADOS, have been more forgiving of Joe Biden than they have been their own sons and grandsons who got caught up in the incarceration that Joe Biden put in place. I think they have been more forgiving of Joe Biden, who helped set up this mass incarceration, if not put it on roller skates. They have been more forgiving of the white man who set up the system than their own Adolf's son, nephew, grandson who got caught up in the system. That's what I think. But I'm gonna let you finish, fam. I'm sorry.
No, ma'am, I appreciate that, because what you did was help me to be reminded of what my family said when I sent the clip out. Again, this has been all on Twitter, Fox News, London BBC wanted clips of my son's arrest. And my family, the first thing they said was, well, nobody told him to be out there.
What?
Not only that, they all were more upset about the fact that I particularly didn't back Biden, but it was more of showing people who Biden was, and apparently nobody knows, or they refuse to see, but they were more upset about me giving the facts than they were about my son and his well-being. Wow. And my son has actually been protesting for months, but he also does a lot of community service.
Exactly.
And he was actually in the voting polls that day volunteering, and that night he was part of the snatch and grab.
Now, is snatch and grab something that they do? Tell me, what is snatch and grab? Is snatch and grab something that they do where they just find like Negroes or you know, who are on the street and say, well, we're just going to take you in? What is snatch and grab? Because it sounds like it's something. I want you to just be clear to the people.
Well, yes, ma'am. So, and it's particularly in Washington, D.C., you know, they're always out there protesting. So what happens is police officers will snatch and grab guys and girls, whether they think they're protesting or not. Just grab them up, arrest them. They will hold them. This particular night, my son was not a part of any protest. He was just out there. And they snatched and grabbed him up, put him in handcuffs. At first, it was about 2 police officers. Next thing you know, it was about 7 or 15. And this has been something ongoing. Right now in D.C., there are several potential lawsuits for these unlawful grab-ups.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay. Thank
and
you for making.
So happens to be our brothers. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for making that clear. Yeah, and I think, let me just say this, fam. Let me just say this. My heart goes out to you sincerely, because one of the things that you need, like, is support, right? And like, how do you tell somebody, well, what was your son doing out here? He was being braver than you ever have been in your life. You know, that's what he was doing out here. He was fighting for people, you know, he was fighting in a way that you never have. So I understand if you can't recognize courage, because it's not a trait that you have. But you don't get to criticize other people who are courageous and say, what was he doing there? What were you doing in the house then? Like, you don't get to say that about somebody who was outside protesting. You don't, you know, we're not even supportive of one another, a lot of us, in that way. That's why I say everybody ain't going to get here, and everybody has to stop, you know, and don't think anything is wrong with you. You know, sometimes I know you don't think that. I know you love your son, but sometimes people talk to us in certain ways, and we get caught up in the foolishness of the cowards who are in our own group, right? So just make sure you don't get kind of caught up in that, because sometimes a coward will tell you they're a coward, and a coward dies 1,000 deaths. A soldier dies once, and that's not who these people are. And so, you know, we're here for you as ADOS, as family. But I think a lot of us have to understand that a lot of these people are not going to make it with us. Like, and we have to kind of make peace with us. We're going to be okay, and we're going to push through. And the thing is, we've got to understand that when we get reparations, a lot of people who didn't do anything are going to get it. And that's going to grade at us too. But listen, we're moving, and we understand who's not moving. So I'm going to let you have the last word, fam. But yeah, that's why he was out there. What was you doing? Somewhat asleep. Thank you, fam. Oh, the fam dropped off. Thank you. I appreciate it, though. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, we got to understand. I know a lot of us get upset when we figure out that everybody's not going to make it there with us, but it just is what it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. 410, I'm coming to you. 410, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hello. My
Hey.
name is Angela from ADOS Baltimore.
Hey, Angela, how you doing?
Why I'm calling. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. The reason why I'm calling is regards to like the Stacey Abrams and those other women that cast for Biden.
Okay.
I believe it's a question of the mammy syndrome. America looks towards black women, and they capitalize on our insecurities in terms of our placement in America. So therefore, with this, just like with Aunt Jemima and how corporations made so much money from her and just disregarded her like she was trash.
Yep.
I think this mammy syndrome that we're experiencing with this vote, black women are going to be cast off like trash.
Ooh.
So that's just the way I see it.
So you think you know how the same way they kind of like cast off black men, even though black men voted for them. You think after a while they're going to throw black women away too?
That's exactly what I believe is going to happen, especially given the fact that we're dealing with Kamala Harris, who doesn't have regards for black men, and obviously she didn't have any regards for black women in terms of the way she snatched and grabbed black mothers whose children were ill, missing days from school, truancy, and I don't think that she has the wherewithal to do anything for us. She's from Brahmin supremacy, so therefore, just like Joe Biden, she's going to be a part. I think it's, when you look at it, it's kind of like a changing of the guard. You have Biden, Confederacy, and then you have Kamala Harris, Brahmin supremacy. So therefore, it's a changing of the guard, and because of the money factor, the fact that they're established, they're rich, they're privileged, I think they don't care about us. They would rather bring in another underclass, another basically bottom class people in, meaning Hispanics, rather than repair us, Adolf.
Yeah, you're talking about what a lot of people talk about is like a buffer class, but you said something that stuck with me. You said Brahmin superior. You said Brahmin supremacy, like that kind of stuck with me because we talk about white supremacy. We don't talk about people who've been made white or who even in their own country were white. That's what Brahmin was, and so it's Brahmin supremacy. You're talking about a group. Even though Kamala wasn't raised there, her mother was raised there and seemed to have no problem with that. Having a group that's top tier, that's at the top. Brahmin supremacy. I never thought about that. Yeah. Woo. Thank you, fam.
She is her mother's daughter. So, basically you are your mother's child.
Yeah.
My mother was a sharecropper. Her parents were children of slaves. So therefore, yes, I am my mother's child. And in turn, she is her mother's child.
That's a word. You can leave it right there. You can leave it right there, fam. That's a word. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. But that's a word. She said Brahmin supremacy, and you are your mother's child. Ooh wee. That's a I hear it and I believe it. Let me go to the next caller. I am going right now to 310. What's your name? Where you calling from? What is on your mind?
Hello, hi. I'm Tanya from LA.
Hey, Tanya.
I'd like to thank you, especially. This was hard work that you did. You're educating people slowly but surely. We're getting it. Hopefully, we're getting it faster. The callers were excellent. I wanted to make a comment that the Biden versus Trump, it was checkmate. We were checkmated. That particular ticket, that particular contest, that checkmated black people. And we have to learn how to play chess. We have to understand what's going on, and we have to think several moves ahead. And then another thing is I wanted to know if you can get information on this of Joe Biden's the votes that he had for the judges that the Republicans voted for and supported. How did Joe Biden also support, or how did he vote for those particular judges? And I would like to see something on that because that's going to help us gain understanding. And I do think that what we have to do is we have to speak systematically. We have to talk about it's not only slavery, It is slavery. It is Jim Crow, and it is mass incarceration. These are the things that we need to be get reparations for, and the latter is happening, still happening today. We need to say, when we talk about to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we need to say, you're doing this for this group, you're doing this for this group, but the group that got you here at 90% of voting rate, what are you going to do for us? And if you're not, why are you not going to do it? We need reparations. And we need to make sure that we understand that the only thing that they can do is reparations. We have to give an amount of money, whatever trillions of dollars, and we have to give a specific time. How many years? And we have to be very specific when we're doing all of this. Our talk now has to be very specific, has to be somewhat dogmatic, because we have asked to do, we're still rising, we're on the bottom, we're still rising. This was indeed a loss for us, but we would have lost no matter who would have won.
Yep.
But again, thank you so much for what you're doing, the education that you're doing. We have to be more dogmatic. You're quite right. We need to increase the ranks, and everybody has to get involved. And as soon I'm ill right now, but as soon as I get over it, I am getting involved. And we need to talk about specifically what we're going to do, and we're going to have to be very specific in our words and what we do. And again, thank you so much.
Yep, you're exactly right, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But you're exactly right. We're gonna get real specific, and the lead up to HQ and the release of that. Stay tuned. We're gonna have to get very specific in terms of how we work, what we do, and we gotta set barometers. We gotta set benchmarks for what we want to see, even in terms of our growth. We're gonna get real specific. So I appreciate you for calling in, fam, because you are exactly right. I'm going right now to 704. 704, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, Yvette, this is Alan Hargrove from Charlotte, North Carolina. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. I have a question.
Sure.
Have you seen a documentary called The Color of Medicine?
I have not.
It's based on the, let me see. It is about the Homer G. Phillips Hospital in St. Louis.
Okay.
And this, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
And this hospital is I think it was in the like 1950s, right? This was right around the Civil Rights Movement, and this hospital was all ADOS. From top to bottom. And I mean, everybody should look it up. I think it's like a 9-star out of 10. And it pretty much got demolished right around the early 80s and the upper 70s. And what happened, there were like a lot of policies that ended up demolishing this hospital. So everyone that's listening to me, go look this up. I think it's on Amazon Prime or one of those streaming networks. Pretty much everything that you've been talking about tonight in regards to the not Indian Americans, but the West Indians coming here and establishing themselves. A lot of us don't realize this history that we already have in this country that pretty much is already established. I knew nothing about this prior to, I think, the top of this year. I think it came out at the top. I think it came out at the top of this year, maybe around February or March. And so, just looking at this, I was like so thrown back. Just the hidden history within our own like nation of hospitals that were ran by ADOS. There was one particular part in that in the particular documentary. There was a southern hospital that needed a special operation or special surgery, and one of the white doctors knew of a surgeon from this in the hospital in St. Louis who happened to be ADOS. They drove him down, and I think he was accompanied with a doctor companion. They did not allow this man to dress in normal like places, I guess, where doctors would dress.
Mm-hmm.
He had to change clothes in a janitor closet. Once they got him situated, I don't know if you're familiar. I guess whenever doctors operate and they have like a surrounding group of men, or observation team, I guess, that look at the surgery from like above. Well, the ADOS doctors were down operating, and it's kind of funny, but it's kind of not. Is that one of the white surgeons was so impressed, and he said, "Boy, look at that N-word, go to work." And those were kind of the words he used, according to one of the doctors that were, that were present at the time as he was telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
So, just understanding that we have history, we have that probably would have been the cornerstone of what you were talking about earlier. And
yeah, if they would see. Well, what do we talk about?
Right,
pause for a second, fam. What do we talk about passing down careers, right? So if they're allowed to keep doing that and be doctors, then they have sons and daughters who are doctors, and then they create medical schools, and we fund our own stuff. If we had just listen, America, not only did America steal from us, even when we wanted to do our own thing, America wouldn't leave us alone. See, and that's the thing. When you see all of these doctors from ADOS doctors from way back then, you understand who they were and what they could have passed down. If America had not gotten in the way and let American racist and systemic in American institutions, because it's not just about an individual racism. America institutions, America as a country is implicated in all of this injustice. You didn't let us be what we were building ourselves to be. There's a cost to that. Go ahead, fam. Finish up. I'm sorry.
Right, and at that hospital, we were on track to do exactly just that. There was even a nurse, I think one of the head nurses, or probably the head nurse at that time. She was so ahead of medicine that she was responsible for why we have the. I want to get it right. She was responsible for why we have the sanitation, how we clean hospitals, and how we are thorough in our practices as far as like cleaning out sheets and bed spreads. Because before she started doing this, I think more so in the she was more in the maternity ward, and she's discipline that we now today take for granted. She simply changed out the sheets or just something that was real basic. That was like, wait, wasn't that done beforehand? But obviously in the documentary, as you can see, she was the first person or one of the first people in America to do this, and that set a trend for the rest of the country, white or black hospitals. But this hospital, the Homer G, I think it's the Homer G. Phillips in St. Louis.
All right, fam. Give me the name of the documentary one more time before you go.
It's called The Color of Medicine. Mm-hmm. Everybody, it's a documentary. Please come back and talk about that, because that would definitely highlight what you're talking about tonight.
Hey, we can have a movie review. That's what we can do with that. So thank you, fam. I appreciate it. We might need to come back and do a movie review. Y'all, you say it's on Netflix?
Yeah, sounds good.
You say on Netflix? What'd you say?
It's on one of those streaming. I think Amazon Prime.
Prime. Okay, we might have to come back and do a thank you, fam. I appreciate you for calling in. We might have to come back and do a movie review. We don't do a lot of movie reviews around here. We might do a movie review of something if it's good. Somebody look that up while we on here. I'm gonna take one more call. Somebody look that up while we on here and see if that's where it is. While y'all out there, please let me know so I can say what it is. We might have to actually take a look at that and figure out if we can see it and do a little discussion about The Color of Medicine. What streaming network is that on? I'm gonna take one last call and y'all let me know. 815, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, that is Ted calling from Illinois. I have to tell you that I've always respected Utah. What you guys do is totally amazing, but I have a very serious question that I need answered here. So, everyone that I've talked to, every time I've watched the entire political cycle, everything that's going on, I'm always saying, wow,
ADOS has put in work. Democrats are very aware of them. You know, they're definitely going to have to bring something to the table. I'm listening to the sister that called in before me, and she's talking about being strategic. So my real question to you, though, is this. You know, there's a lot of back and forth amongst ADOS community right now about, you know, calling the ADOS who did not vote for Trump or who did vote in record numbers for Biden. And I just want to share a brief tidbit of my experience.
Okay,
so I'm a woman with a master's who's working well below her pay grade, work in a predominantly white environment. I live in a not too far from Chicago, born and raised south side of Chicago, but predominantly Republican neighborhood. The vitriol and emboldening that Trump's presidency has done to impinge on my everyday life is almost unbearable.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples of what happened to your life.
So, for example, just this week alone. Well, let me go back to a little before election week. My son is a mechanical engineer. He travels for a living. His national director had to send an email to tell them to take him off of the schedule in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Indiana, because it was not safe for him to be there. My neighbors, the way they interact with me at my job, I'm almost going into my office daily, praying for just uneducated, mean-spirited. I'm saying all this not for fanfare, not for. I'm saying this to paint a picture about how emboldened these white folks have become to the fact that we're in a recount stage that they are now threatening civil war and Million MAGA March. So I ask you, yes. I know the history. I know how I taught systemic racism. I am my station in life right now is because of it. There's no way I'm part of the most educated population, and my life is on the trajectory it is right now. Thank all of this to say, once I go in that booth, giving my living everyday experience, who did you think I was about to vote for? And let me, it's a real question. It's a real question.
I'm not saying it's
because, yes, I know the history. Yes, I know the history. There was something about under this man's presidency, and I'm not even talking about from the vantage point of being woke and plugged in ADOS. I'm talking about from the vantage point of those who don't even have to study the history to understand that privilege. I'm talking about those who were so comfortable under Trump that as they saw black people dying in the streets, as they saw people not getting indicted, as they saw various recordings of cops saying, hell, I need a paid vacation. I'm a killer. When they pull over black people, when they saw all of these things, somehow they resonated with them. And so when I say that, I definitely believe that it is understood that the Democratic machine understands, and they've heard ADOS. I remember all the stuff they were doing with the blue check wars on Twitter, and they sent all of the black folks out. What I'm saying is this lived experience on this vitriol and this anger, and that white folks on every station, educated and uneducated, is showing. Who did you think I was about to go on that? Let me just say this.
Let me just say this. Who I thought you was gonna vote for was neither one of them. But let me just say this. I heard you and I understand you and I empathize.
I love you.
And I love you back. And I love you back. We can disagree and still love each other. Let me just say this. 1919 happened before Trump, right? Like every white mob action in this country. I remember Oprah going to Forsyth County and them throwing rocks at Negroes. What I would say is that American white supremacy has emboldened white people a lot more than Trump has. Trump was just the most overt voice of that. Now, here's what I would say. Here's what I will also say. The scarier thing to me than Donald Trump is black poverty. And the concentrated black poverty that is nothing like white poverty that actually predates Trump. So I would say, to me, that is the most scary thing. And that is an institutional thing that is Republican and Democrat. And what I will say to you
yes, it is.
for those of us who live in the South and we see these Confederate flags fly all the time, we know that there's never been a time where these people ain't thought of themselves as lording over other people, right? And mainly us. So I think, Trump may have given voice to that in a way that some have not. But like where Trump gave voice to it, Biden gave policy to it. And so that would be my answer.
Let me hit you on this one. Absolutely, 1,000%, and Kamala even worse with the truancy policies being the top cop on every level. I definitely believe Michelle Alexander's book was written under the time that Kamala held those positions in California. I know it. What I'm trying to explain here is that I think there's a flip side to it. I think the energy that I'm seeing right now is it has caused, you got this group of a white woman, a 45 against 45 right now, and the way Trump has carried himself has set such a stage that you cannot call anyone unpresidential at this point. They set themselves so much up under him that it almost walks us right to the gate for the things that we're going to want. No question asked has our life been hell here. No question asked. Biden and 94 crime bill, no questions asked. But I feel like because of the ADOS, because of these young folks in these streets protesting, because of all these things that the world has seen and witnessed, it kind of positions us. But sometimes I think that the end of it all isn't for people to just say, okay, don't vote for anybody or don't do this. Yes, that was horrible. It was a vicious cycle. It kept recreating itself. But I'm also saying I think it positioned us to be in a situation we can finally do what Frederick Douglass said, power that sees nothing without demand. We're demanding right now, but those like me who live under what I've had to live under, what I have to endure, because now they're outwardly justified.
Yeah, but let me just say this, and I'm
sorry.
I hear you, but let me just say this, and I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna end it. Let me say this: being ADOS in America has always been dangerous. Right?
Yeah.
We can't give up the movement and the path that we're on because it's dangerous. For me, for you, for everybody that we love, this is a dangerous path. We were born into a dangerous group. We were born into a group that has been endangered. That's who we are. That's what we face. And let me tell you this. Voting for any kind of white, especially a white person like Biden with that history, voting for any person with that history who does not put us and reparations on the agenda is not going to make this country any less dangerous. I don't care what you think today. I understand why you think what you think, but it won't. I promise you it won't. I promise you it won't. So I want to say that, and we're at about the time to end the show. But let me just tell you, you're born into a group, and I understand what she's saying. I don't have any animosity toward this woman. I love her. She loved me. But like we're born into a group where it's always gonna be dangerous until we get what we gotta get, and then after we get it, it might be backlash. Hell, it might be backlash right now, but from people who are mad that Trump's getting out of there. We can't. There's no way for us to avoid any kind of backlash. It's always gonna be dangerous, from enslavement to the Red Summer of 1919 to lynchings to mass incarceration and what happens in prisons to Jim Crow to evictions and the rape of black women. It's always been dangerous. You are not going to escape this group. You are not going to get out of being in danger. That's the group you're born into. There's no way to do it. I'm not calling it fair. I'm not saying it's fair. I know it ain't. But you're born into it. And you best get used to it and do what we got to do and do what's right. We don't have no safety. If you're looking for safety, I don't know what to tell you. You were born into the wrong group. We can't back off. Fam, that's the last call. If you didn't get through, I apologize. I know this is hot topic time. I apologize. We will try to get you through next time, family. I am so sorry, but we are at the 12:20 hour. So if you didn't get through, my sincerest apologies. But yes, listen, I understand. People are emboldened. Racists get emboldened. They're going to be emboldened no matter what. 400 years, they ain't never been less emboldened. They just kind of ebb and flow. That is what it is. This is not the exit. We got to make the right exit. We got to make the right choice in terms of how we get out of this thing. And this ain't it. That's all I can say about that. That's all I can say about that, family. So let me remind everybody as we get out of here. Let me remind everybody, please Do not forget on December the 10th. December the 10th, The Half Has Never Been Told. That will be our book club book. December the 10th. Please, 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 please do not forget to read that and look at, and we're going to have a whole conversation. So please do not forget about that. While you are here, please hit that like button. If you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com or patreon.com /YCarnell or $ Breaking Brown for Cash App. So if you want to do that, but do not forget, if you want to help the channel and don't want to spend a dime, hit that like button for me. I would appreciate it. Hit that like button as you go out of here. It costs you nothing. Hit that subscribe button. If you have not subscribed, if for some reason you have not subscribed to the channel, I would appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button for me. I would appreciate it. Hit that bell too. Please make sure that you hit the bell so that you get notifications. Okay. Please make sure you share the content. Right? So please make sure you do all of that. All of that stuff helps the channel grow and all of that good stuff. So I would appreciate it. I would appreciate that. And it costs you nothing. It costs you no money to do that part of it. So fam, keep it easy breezy. Please finish your libations. Please get started on the book. I know it's a long book. Some people are like, this book, I know. I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time. But I think it's a really good book. It's been recommended a lot of times by a lot of people. Like, Yvette, why haven't we ever read The Half Has Never Been Told? So we're going to get down into the nitty and the gritty. The nitty and the gritty. So anyway, fam, finish your libations. Get ready to get off in bed. Do not forget that I think next week I'm going to start reverting the show back to starting at 9:30. I don't want to scare nobody. So make sure you are aware of that. I don't want to catch y'all driving. What, Yvette, doing something different? She didn't tell nobody nothing. So fam, get your sleep, wear your mask. They say a vaccine is coming soon, so we shall see. I'm gonna let all my white brothers and sisters take it first, and I'm gonna see if y'all fall out. Anyway, till next time, fam, keep it easy breezy and take care of yourself.